Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra.
Yeah.
So we both had it for a few weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very good device overall, right? Controversial, some things. The first thing I want to talk about is the design. Now, personally, I quite like the design. I think it looks quite nice. Yes, it's still got the, it's still got that triple ring, thicker rings to protect the lenses, flatter sides, which actually makes it feel a little bit thicker, right? Compared to the S24 Ultra as well as the
4 Ultra.
S23 Ultra. Because those edges kind of curve in. So when you're holding it in your hand, this actually doesn't feel thinner. It actually feels thicker. So that's one point, right? But it is lighter and it's got those curved edges. I personally don't mind the design. I think it's a pretty good design, I would say. What about you?
Oh, I love this design. I agree with you that the edge does feel thicker just because it's the flat edge. But the device is lighter. It's naturally lighter in weight and it feels lighter while using the device. There's something fresh about it. I don't know how to describe it. I think just the subtle refinements of the curved edges and also the flat display makes it feel fresh in my mind. Again, that's just me personally, but
Yeah.
I like the device. So currently, I've been using both the S24 and S25 side by side, and I'm getting tired of like carrying around the S24. Not because the device is bad or there's anything wrong with it. It's just that I enjoy holding the 25 more than 24. Just simply
Okay.
in that realm.
Don't let the 24 hear that.
Where is it? Okay, it's upstairs.
All right. So the next thing we need to talk about. Okay, so that's the design. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. The S Pen, right? Now this has been, oh my god, it's so crazy because it's like on one side or the other, right? Some people are saying, oh, it's all right, I never used to use Bluetooth on the S Pen. Other people are saying, how could they get rid of Bluetooth on the S Pen, right?
Yeah.
Now, I literally just got some news right now from Jerry Rig Everything. Have you seen that video yet?
No, I haven't watched the video yet.
Okay, all right, so we'll get to that. So firstly, okay, me personally, let me just say, not having Bluetooth on the S Pen, not the end of the world.
Mhm.
It's like, I'd like to have it, but it's not there. Okay, fair enough. What about you?
Um, I went through a few emotions, but I got over it pretty quickly. And there's one thing I want to add at the end of that. One, I I'm a big S Pen user. I've been using the S Pen since the Galaxy Note 3. So
Oof.
for me, and I have notes that are old, not that
Yeah.
old. My buddy does, but not that old. So I felt like it was a betrayal of the growth of the S Pen because every year they always had something new or different to it. But I asked myself the question because I asked Samsung. I said, "Why did you take it out?" And the response was 1%, actually less than 1%, but they said just call it 1% of S Pen users on the Galaxy S Ultra use Bluetooth functionality.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's one of the things. And I asked myself, okay, when last did I actually use that functionality, that specific functionality?
Hmm.
I would say maybe when I did my launch video with the S24 Ultra. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I'd
literally
agree.
it.
Using the S24 Ultra over the past year, I probably used it, I'd say 3 times, right? So that would potentially account for 1% of the time. Now, Zach from Jerry Rig Everything, friend and great content creator, did a teardown
Mhm.
of the S25 Ultra, and he's literally doing it right now. Now, what's interesting is, and this is going to cause controversy for sure, is it seems that inside there is the charging coil around the S Pen. So in theory, if you had an S Pen that would fit,
Ooh.
it would be able to charge within the S25 Ultra. Now, he said that this could be, just the detection of when the S Pen's inside or not, right? But it looks very suspiciously similar to what we've got on the S24 Ultra.
So
So
did you
now
see the post on Twitter?
No, I haven't.
But continue. I'll jump in a second.
Okay, so the question is, I mean, there's a few scenarios, right? Samsung were going to include the S Pen in the S25 Ultra, and for whatever reason didn't include it. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two is that they are planning on selling a Bluetooth-enabled S Pen at a later point, right? Okay. Or scenario 3 is they were like, you know what, we're probably going to get a lot of backlash for this, so let's try it, but let's just have the option open. So then if we decide later on to, let people buy an S Pen, then at least there's going to be a little less backlash. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. It's one of those three.
It's scenario number 2. The reason I say that is because somebody shared a tweet that had a link to Samsung, either UK, but it's a European site that had a Bluetooth S Pen for sale. It was for pre-order. This is during the launch event, and then it was taken down.
Because on one side, right, okay, it's like there's going to be people who are going to be very angry, very, very angry, saying, how could they do this? And they're trying to sell it to us separately, okay? On the other side, from Samsung's point of view, it's going to be like only 1% of people use it. So for that 1%, you can go ahead and buy it. That's fine, right? We'll give you a discounted price on this S Pen and you can buy it. And then, that saves us this many, thousands or millions in the amount of units they ship, because they no longer have to have a battery within the S Pen. So I think either way, it's going to be very controversial.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. I think Samsung missed the boat here on something. I was talking to my buddy Warren Bowman, and he said same thing with us. He's like, I don't miss the Bluetooth on the S Pen because I don't use it either that much. But he was like, Samsung should have included a microphone into the S Pen and basically push the whole look. We now have log, right? It's a creator phone. You have a mic, that's the S Pen, that's built in, and you can basically make your content. Like, that would be golden.
But I mean, that fitting in a mic, a decent quality mic in that S Pen.
Yeah, you can. Because
because even if you look at something like the DJI Micro, right, which is probably the smallest.
No, this is not the smallest anymore. The smallest good mic is from Hollyland. They have one that's literally like a slip, and then it's got a slightly big end, but if you stretch it out across the whole body, you should be theoretically, again, be able to get it. I think it's possible. I think there's a possibility there.
Dr. Enabonk, HA physician and engineer, is saying that it's possible. So it's gonna be possible.
I think there's a possibility here. The reason I'm just saying that,
I don't know, man. I think physically,
yeah.
But I mean, you've got the battery there as well, which you need, right? So I think physically it would be a big challenge. So I don't think that would ever happen. I don't know. I'd if it wasn't haram to bet, I would bet that's never going to come with the S Pen. If it wasn't haram, sorry.
That means I won.
Essentially. All right. Okay, moving on from that. Display is beautiful. Gorilla Armor 2. I'd say the S25 Ultra has my favorite display out right now. It's flat. It's, anti-reflective. It's still bright enough, 2600 nits. And especially at that point, when you kind of increase the brightness, it doesn't really make that much of an impact. It's kind of like I think it's like the way that works is like a curve, right?
Yeah.
Resolution, refresh rate, everything's spot on. The bezels, the uniform, they're super small. All good on that side. I don't think we've got any complaints. I don't think anybody's going to have any complaints on that. Cameras. Okay. So we've got a new ultra-wide camera, which, let me just say, I think still needs some tuning. This is the first time Samsung are using this new ultra-wide camera, and I think they still need to tune things up a little bit. You do get better resolution. Obviously, you get more resolution, but you lose dynamic range when you are shooting at that resolution. I would say overall it has been better in low light, but again, I think it still needs some tweaking, and it can now shoot 8K as well, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the biggest change when it comes to the cameras. That's the noticeable one. Obviously, you mentioned video. You've got really good quality HDR video now as well. You've got the ability to shoot in log. So as an overall camera package, very good. Is it enough different from the S24 Ultra? Probably not, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad camera, because the S24 Ultra has a really good camera package. So the S25 Ultra just kind of extends on that.
I think the camera is great.
Is it because of your black test?
Yes. It made me look better. I mean, I think that's where, the balance of how do things actually look. And it's always interesting with the camera comparisons because, people like SAF or Danny, they always do environments. I prefer skin color because that's the most important thing we take. Pictures of ourselves or the people we love, or the environment can be whatever it is. I really don't care. Personally, that's just me. But I think
He
when it
just likes taking
comes
pictures of himself.
exactly when it comes to my skin complexion, I think the Galaxy does because it does a lot higher contrast, right? So it really does.
Hmm.
They brought back the same engineer from the Galaxy S20, told him to just calm it down a little bit, and he's doing his job here. But
We
I
have a
will agree.
theory.
I will agree with you. We have a theory on that one, though. My
Yeah, I'm not
theory,
sure if can we share this theory
yeah, I'll share. My
to the
theory is
public?
that the engineer
There's an
has
engineer in Samsung. Our
Samsung, right?
theory is that there is this engineer in Samsung who has a particular liking to a particular race.
Just saying,
Huh?
So he tunes it that way. But I do
Yeah.
agree that the camera needs some tuning, especially even when shooting video, it kind of looks darker on screen. Like there's certain things that they need to do that should help. Um, Now the question is, we'll talk about other phones, but Vivo has taken at least the crown for a lot of people this year, right?
Hmm.
How does it stack for you against the Vivo? Like, where is that? Because, there are different spots where you could land.
I think it's obviously I've not done a detailed camera comparison between the Vivo X200 Pro and the S25 Ultra, so I wouldn't be able to specifically say. But in terms of using the Vivo X200 Pro, I just think that the images, because of that sensor, they're just super sharp and crisp, right? And
Mhm.
especially you notice this more when you're taking pictures of objects on the Vivo X200 Pro. So that's one area. But I always say this, that when it comes to a camera, you have to look at the overall camera package. And this is why like people get really annoyed when you say this, but generally speaking, the reason why iPhones are top of when it comes to cameras, right? When it comes to usage, it's the overall package, because you're not just looking at one camera, you're looking at the ultrawide, primary, telephoto, you're looking at video, you're looking at how it handles all of these things, right? So you're looking at that overall camera package, and I think that's what's key. What I can't say right now is, does the Vivo X200 Pro have an overall better camera package compared to the S25 Ultra? I can't answer that question right now.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think you're right in with my at least my short comparison with it I did a short actually. It's sharper. The Vivo is definitely just a sharper image, but my image also felt a little bit highly saturated in certain
Hmm.
environments, while the Galaxy just kept that nice balance, just neutral tone to it. So from a starting point, especially if you want to edit that photo, it's easier to edit the Galaxy than the Vivo, just because you're in a higher range. I think to your points, it's the overall package, and that's where I would say Samsung has the edge. Is that when you look at it, especially with video, low light, like all those things together, to me, that's where the edge is. Again, I haven't done a full test either, but that's something where I would still like to see that overall package with a sharper image. That to me would
Yeah.
be great as well,
But then again, I'm going to cut Samsung some slack because this is a brand new device. It's literally not released at the time of this video anyway. And they will improve it with software updates. And Samsung have been great with software, right? The next thing I want to talk about is the performance, because obviously we've got the Snapdragon 8 Elite, right? And that has really upped the performance on the device. We've got a larger vapor chamber as well. It's also made the device more efficient. So as a gamer and as somebody who's done lots of gaming tests with lots of different smartphones, what do you think of the performance of the S25 Ultra?
I mean, it's the same as the other Snapdragon 8 Elites. Now, in terms of benchmarks, you're going to see higher numbers. That is true. I will say when I look at it across the board, the one game I had issues with was Call of Duty Warzone. I could not play that on any other Snapdragon 8 Elite device on the with any serious like high FPS rating. On the S25 Ultra, I got maybe about 48, but still was running really hot, by the way. it ran hotter than it should have with that vapor cooling and that Tim Schofield, layer of coolness that it has there, called the Tim layer. And then, but it performed much better on the S25 Plus and regular S25. There I was able to get closer to 60 frames per second. Smaller
is
display, different battery size, all that stuff also comes into play as well.
is that also down to optimization? Do they still need to make it, because it's for Galaxy, right? And I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying, is that something that potentially
Oh no,
is a factor?
the game, to be fair, the game needs to be optimized because that game runs very well. Maybe not as high, but runs very well on Gen 3. So the game is
Okay.
not, it's a heavy CPU load, and the architecture has changed where we have this, now we have the power cores, no more the efficiency cores. So that's probably what's going on, because in comparison to MediaTek, it runs well in MediaTek, it runs well in Gen 3, and then we move to this year, it's like, so
Okay.
the game
I
needs
think
an
it's down
update.
to optimization. I think
Yeah.
we will be seeing some updates, and things will get optimized a little bit more.
Yeah.
And speaking of updates, Samsung has promised 7 generations of Android OS updates, which is currently the lead when it comes to Android OS updates, right up there with Google. Nobody else is offering that many updates. So that is one thing that, I think Samsung has been doing really great with. And also the AI features. Like, when I was testing out, like, the S24 Ultra as well as the S23 Ultra have a lot of the new AI features that Samsung has bought. So, brought to their devices. Like, even though, like, the S23 Ultra is a 2-year-old phone, it still has things like sketch to image. It still has, call assist and transcript assist and all of these things, right? Which I'm like, you know what? You got to give it to them. Like, these are features that you didn't, when you bought the S23 Ultra, that's not what you bought these features for, right? You bought the S23 Ultra at that time without any promise of AI features, and here they are with these AI features on the S23 Ultra as well. So I got to give them some props there for bringing all of these features to previous devices.
No, I agree. I like that fact that it's coming down the line, giving people a glimpse of at least what they should be expecting as you move up, and also what you can currently use right now.
Yeah.
I like this AI approach, especially on the S25 Ultra, because for me, it's getting closer to what I want. I want a personal assistant. Now, not everybody might want that, but I like the fact that this year, even though they added more things, it didn't feel aggressive. So a lot of people are like, oh, there's the now bar. And look, whether you think they copied Apple or not is one thing, but I do like the functionality. One of the best things, at least for me as a football lover, aka soccer, is the fact
Not
that
real football.
when I set up my device at Unpacked, I logged into my Samsung account, I set everything up. As soon as because I was doing it on unboxing, as soon as I turned it back on, I basically, powered on the phone, or I hit the power button, the now bar showed up and showed me that Arsenal had won their game. Now, I'm an Arsenal fan, and the fact that it took in all that information from what I have from my Google uh my Google saved teams, it, to me, it made the day happy. Like,
Well, this is the
it's
thing. So, like,
easy to have that kind of information come up for you whenever you want.
yeah, my complaint with the dynamic island always has been that, as an interactive feature with animations and, like, like, say for example, especially if you're on United, because that's an Apple partner, right? You're on a United flight, you're waiting. It has like a countdown at the top with the dynamic island, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is so useful because I can just glance at my phone and I know there's 42 minutes left to boarding, right?
Yeah.
So stuff like that, I'm like, brilliant, really, really good. But it's right at the top. So if I want to interact with it, it's like the utmost element. Whereas what Samsung have done is, I would say they have copied it, but it's much more reachable because it's right at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. And also the whole UI has changed to reachability to the bottom, searches at the
Yeah.
bottom. Those kind of things it's simple, they make sense. The other aspect to it is also the AI features, right? The assistant. I like the fact that I don't have to call Gemini, or if I'm hitting the button, or Google, or Bixby, I basically hit the button, I just ask the question, right? So that is, again, a little easier to deal with,
It
you
still
know?
needs to work a little bit better because, like, for instance, if I ask Gemini to switch off the always on display. It's not going to be able to do that. Like right now, that Bixby and Gemini
Mhm.
talking is something that they need to work on. I shouldn't have to think about, do I want Bixby or do I want Gemini? I should just ask and it should figure out what I need.
Yes, and I think that comes down to a very stringent, hard problem where it's, Gemini has not learned anything about the phone, to be fair, right? It's if you think about it, Gemini is trained on everything else out there. Samsung is not sharing the information in the phone, or whichever manufacturer is, right? So
Yeah.
to do that search it's something that either they have to either agree to do early on, or it's a
Well,
post-launch thing.
this is the thing. It's a similar thing with Apple Intelligence when it comes to Siri and ChatGPT, right? For instance, I asked Apple to Siri to list me the 5 top halal restaurants in Leicester. I did this demo, and it gave me 3, and one of the times, one of them wasn't even halal, right? But I'm thinking like, it's like, okay, I've asked you a question, you don't have the ability to answer that, then at least ask me, do you want me to go to ChatGPT? It doesn't always do that, right? Sometimes it will. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, I can't answer this, but do you want to go to ChatGPT, right? Fair enough. But it's like, yeah, but you're giving me an extra step. Like, let me just figure it out
Oh,
that you
yeah.
need to do it. And this is where I think the problem is, because again, when I asked Gemini to do something in my settings, because Samsung and Google have been working so closely together, they need to figure out a way just to make it easier, that I don't have to think that, oh, actually, no, this is something that Bixby needs to do, because that gets very confusing, because you've essentially got 2 assistants on one, right? Like, and again, I say the same thing with Siri and Apple. It's like, okay, if you're going to be doing that, then I'll just use ChatGPT. But then it's like, okay, I can't do this on Chat. It's like, no, bring it together. But I think there just needs to be more work on, like, making that an easy experience where you don't have to think about it.
I agree, but I think it's better. I mean, to me, it's better than Apple Intelligence, just because number one, the one thing
It's more
they've
complete.
done, one thing they've done is that whenever you're searching, when you're asking for anything away from the device, it's not even going to bother to be like, do I need to ask for permission? It's basically Gemini is doing all the work and then bringing it back in for you.
Mm.
Um, and yes, I agree with you that on-device functionality, that's where you always have to you have to mention Bixby, or else it literally doesn't get that information. And I think that's where they need to tie it correctly together. And I think they can. It's just a matter of how much money Google is going to pay Samsung to say, okay, look, we need the full instruction sets for this so we can have it done. And
No, but
then
they've been
understand.
working very closely together right now. Like, you look at, like, even like, for example, Circle to Search, that came on Galaxy devices before it came on Google devices,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay,
I know.
so they have been working closely together. So it's just like,
No, that's why I said it's this.
this
It's
is
always boils
well,
down to this.
it probably is, yeah. But I mean, and again, I mentioned this in my comparison of the S25 Ultra versus the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Technically, Apple Intelligence is still in beta. It's not fully complete. So, at this point in time, Galaxy AI with Google's Gemini is a lot more complete, and it's at this point in time, I would say. Now, once Apple Intelligence is fully rolled out, it's not got the beta sign on there. It's like, okay, this is the real deal. Then I think we need to do a comparison and really see who comes out on top.
Nope, it's a service that's offered for both people. So this comparison is now. I disagree absolutely completely. If you don't have this thing ready, because we're going to talk about DeepSeek at the end of this podcast. We don't live in that era where you can hold a beta sign and expect that to stick.
No,
You
I
offer,
agree.
yeah,
I
you're offering
agree.
it now.
It's
You got to take the heat.
Yeah, that's it. And I quote Marquez, which is, you shouldn't buy a product with the promise of software updates. You buy it for what it is right now, and I
Hmm.
agree with that. Battery life has been very good. I think a lot of it's down to the ATD. It's very
Yeah.
efficient. So we have had a battery life improvement. However, the battery life is not as good as some of the other competitors we're going to be talking about, such as the OnePlus 13 and the Honor Magic 7 Pro, which both have better battery life. So is that a big deal? Does it still give you the full day usage? Are you
Yeah.
bothered about the charging not being as fast as others?
So in terms of battery life, yes, the others are faster. I mean, are longer. I think that's something that we've seen over the years with especially like the Chinese manufacturers, and with their battery life. Uh, this is already better than my S24 Ultra from last year, and I could do a full day with the S24 Ultra. That means this is giving me at least more to do. I do a lot of stuff with my device. I think I do more than most people even imagine. So I'm very comfortable with the battery life. The one thing I am not comfortable with is that fast charging. Wireless charging is cool. You can make it faster or not. I really don't care. I rather have faster charging wired. Just because I operate my own functionality is I operate on a desk, in the car, or I'm on a desk again in the office. So I can plug in somewhere.
Well, this is the thing, because one of the complaints I've been seeing online is that unlike competitors who are using silicon carbon batteries, which have a smaller footprint basically, so you can get a bigger battery in the same size space, Samsung isn't doing that. So it's just like, what is going on here? Why are you not giving us what the other competitors are? So
maybe, when we get to the edge, right?
I know.
That'd be
Well, maybe
it.
what we do, let's not step ahead of ourselves. Let's
No,
talk
no, I
about the
know.
price, because pricing hasn't changed too much. But like Samsung, this is the thing. US pre-order deals, which you can find affiliate link down in the description below. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Mate, they are giving crazy deals. So right now in the US, well, I don't know if they'll still be live by the time this video goes live. They're giving you $900 if you trade it in an S24 Ultra. Like you can't, like if you go out to buy an S24 Ultra right now, that's how much it's going to cost you. So if you've got one that you've used for a year, you're like, you know what, I want to upgrade. Okay, $900, right? So that is the $1,300 device is now $400. Then you get double the storage. So you get 512 gigabytes. Okay, so you're 400. Then depending on the carrier you go for and stuff, you can get at least about $150 to $200, or maybe even up to $350 using the exclusive affiliate link down in the description. It can bring the price down. Like realistically speaking, with all the offers, like with the buds and things like that, it's like a couple of $100.
Yeah.
So
there was a big push on this.
I know. And then the S23 Ultra, you can get $750 for that, right? Now I know people are going to be like, Safi, just like pushing your links. No, but like honestly, these are good deals. Guess what? We don't have them in the UK right now. In the UK, I believe you get like £500 if you trade in your S24 Ultra, which is not worth it. I'd say that's not worth it, right? But it's exclusive to the US. People complain to me. I've been called a traitor to my Britishness, right? They're like, you are not a true Brit because you are not giving us British deals. And it's like, bruv, what do you want me to do, man? I don't control these deals. It's what Samsung gives. Samsung UK don't give good deals. Complain to Samsung. What am I supposed to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, the deals are quite impressive. One of my friends, he was here this past weekend, and he's like, "Oh, I'm getting the S25 Ultra." I was like, "Cool, man." Like, he's like, he got a great deal directly from his carrier, AT&T.
Okay.
Traded in his iPhone 15, 15 Pro Max, and he's paying taxes, basically $100 in taxes. That's it. That's all he's paying for it. He basically
there you go.
He got it for, and remember, a year plus old phone, right? The 15 Pro Max, for the price of a brand new phone.
I honestly don't know how Samsung do this. Like, it's crazy, but this is the thing. My advice to anybody who's thinking of getting a new device, a new Samsung device, is just take advantage of those pre-order deals, because I don't think it's going to be as good as this anytime soon, right? Get in there for the early pre-order deals. If you decide to change your mind, I'm sure there's some sort of money-back guarantee. It's up to you, but like, I don't think you're going to find those deals another time, because I've had to look myself like a couple of months later, and it's like, oh, okay, the same deals aren't there. And then I get people complaining in the comments saying the deal you said is no longer there. And it's like, yeah, bro, you're 3 months late. You know what I mean? You can't blame me. Now I kind of make a point of saying at the time of this video. So at the time of this video, there are some pretty good pre-order deals. So I would say overall, S25 Ultra, great smartphone overall. Yes, there's two controversies here and there, but if you're after a good smartphone that's going to last you a while and has some really good AI features, good battery life, great performance, good overall cameras, I just think it's an all-rounder. It's a good all-rounder, right? S25 Ultra is a good one to go for.